Kang Tai-Wu had always believed that death would be quick. He thought it would come like a switch turning off. One moment you exist, and the next moment you do not. Simple, clean, final. He was wrong. The alarm had started screaming 3 minutes ago. Red lights filled the small cockpit of his cargo ship, the Busan Star. The computer voice kept repeating the same words over and over. Hull breach detected. Hull breach detected. Emergency protocols failed. Tae-Woo's fingers moved fast across the control panel. He tried to seal the damaged section. He tried to reroute power to the emergency shields. He tried everything he knew. But the ship was old, and the damage was too big. A piece of space debris had torn through the cargo hold like a knife through paper. He could hear the air leaving. It made a terrible sound, like the ship itself was screaming. Come on, Tae-Woo said to himself. His voice was calm, but his heart was beating so fast it hurt. Come on, come on, come on. The emergency suit locker was on the other side of the ship. He would never make it in time. He knew this. He understood this. But his body refused to stop trying. That was the thing about being human. Even when the mind accepted death, the body kept fighting. The final seal broke. The air disappeared in an instant. Tae-Woo felt himself pulled backward with terrible force. His hands grabbed for something, anything, but there was nothing to hold. The cold hit him first. It was a cold beyond anything he had ever known. It burned his skin and froze his blood at the same time. Then came the silence. Space has no sound. Tae-Woo had learned this in school, but he had never truly understood it until now. The silence was absolute, complete. It pressed against his ears like a physical weight. He could hear only his own heartbeat, and even that was slowing down. His lungs tried to breathe, but there was nothing to breathe. The air in his chest expanded and escaped through his mouth in a cloud of frozen crystals. He watched them float away from him, beautiful and terrible, like tiny stars being born and dying in the same moment. The cold spread through his body. His fingers stopped moving first, then his arms, then his legs. He was floating now, spinning slowly in the endless dark. The Busan Star was getting smaller behind him, or maybe he was getting smaller. It was hard to tell. Everything was becoming hard to tell. Tae-Woo thought about his sister, Yuna. She would be angry when she found out he was dead. She had told him not to take this job. She had said the shipping company was cheap and their ships were dangerous. She had been right, as always. Yuna was always right about everything, and she never let him forget it. He smiled or tried to smile. His face was too frozen to move properly. He thought about his mother's cooking, the way she made kimchi jjigae on cold winter nights, the smell of it filling their small apartment in Incheon. He could almost taste it now, hot and spicy on his tongue. Strange, the things you remember when you are dying. He thought about the ocean, the beach near Busan, where he used to go as a child, the sound of the waves, the feeling of sand between his toes, the way the sun looked when it set over the water, turning everything gold and red and purple. His vision was going dark now, not all at once, but slowly, like someone was turning down a light. The stars around him were disappearing one by one. He wondered if this was what death looked like, a slow fade into nothing. His heart beat once, twice, 3 times. Then it stopped. Tae-Woo felt himself falling, even though there was no up or down in space. He was falling into something deep and dark and endless. He let go. There was nothing else to do. He let go of fear. He let go of hope. He let go of everything. The darkness took him. And then after what felt like forever and no time at all, something changed. There was light. Not the cold light of stars, but warm light. Soft light. It hurt his eyes, but it was there. Light meant something. Light meant he was somewhere. Pain came next. Pain was good, he realized. Dead people do not feel pain. Dead people do not feel anything. But he felt everything. His chest burned like fire. His skin felt like it had been torn off and put back wrong. Every part of him screamed in protest. He tried to open his eyes. It took several attempts. His eyelids were heavy, so heavy, like they were made of stone. But finally, slowly, they opened. White. Everything was white. A white ceiling, white walls, white light. For a moment, Tae-Woo thought he was in heaven. Then he heard the crying. Someone was crying beside him. The sound was soft and broken, full of grief. He turned his head, and even that small movement sent waves of pain through his body. But he had to see. He had to know. She was sitting next to his bed. Her skin was pale blue, like the sky just before sunrise. Her eyes were silver, like polished metal, and tears were falling from them. She had no hair, but instead thin tendrils that moved slightly on their own, like plants in a gentle wind. She was clearly not human. She was clearly not from Earth. She was clearly mourning him. Her hands were folded in her lap, and she was speaking in a language he did not understand. The words were soft and musical, almost like singing. He realized she was saying some kind of prayer, a prayer for the dead. Tae-woo tried to speak. His throat was dry and broken, and the first sound he made was barely a whisper. But it was enough. The alien woman looked up. Her silver eyes went wide. The tears stopped falling. For a long moment she just stared at him, her mouth open, her expression showing something beyond shock, beyond fear, beyond understanding. "Water," Tae-woo said. His voice sounded terrible, like rocks scraping together. "Please, water." The alien woman did not move. She seemed frozen in place, unable to process what she was seeing. Finally, after what felt like hours, she spoke. Her voice was shaking. "You are alive," she said. The translator in the room converted her words to his language, but it could not hide the disbelief in her tone. "That is not possible. You cannot be alive." Tae-woo would have laughed if he had the strength. Instead, he just closed his eyes and let out a long, painful breath. "Tell that to my body," he whispered. "It does not seem to know the rules." And somewhere deep inside him, in a place that should have been empty and cold, his heart kept beating, against all odds, against all reason, against everything the universe said should be true. He was alive. He had no idea how. He had no idea why. But he was alive, and that was enough. For now, that was more than enough. Lyra had been a nurse for 12 years. In that time, she had seen many things. She had watched patients fight for their lives and win. She had watched others give up and fade away. She had held the hands of the dying and cleaned the bodies of the dead. She thought she understood the limits of life. She thought she knew where the line between living and dying was drawn. She was wrong. The human had arrived 3 days ago. A patrol ship had found his body floating in the narrow expanse, frozen solid, his small cargo vessel destroyed behind him. The report said he had been exposed to vacuum for nearly 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Lyra had read that number 5 times to make sure she understood it correctly. Among all the known species in the galaxy, exposure to vacuum for more than 30 seconds meant death. The body could not survive without air pressure. The blood would boil. The lungs would collapse. The brain would die within moments. This was not opinion. This was not theory. This was simple, basic biology that every medical student learned in their first year. 4 minutes was not survival. 4 minutes was not even possible. 4 minutes meant the human should be nothing but frozen meat, ready for whatever burial customs his primitive species practiced. But Lyra was a professional. She had been assigned to prepare the body, and she would do her job with respect and care. Every species deserved dignity in death, even the strange ones from backwater planets. She had been sitting beside him, saying the traditional Velthari prayers for the departed, when his eyes opened. Now she stood in the corner of the room, her back pressed against the wall, her heart beating faster than it had ever beaten before. The human was drinking water. He was drinking water and breathing and blinking and doing all the things that living creatures do. Things that he should not be able to do. Things that broke every rule she knew. The door opened and Dr. Orn walked in. He was old for a Velthari, his blue skin faded to a pale gray, his movements slow and careful. He had been a physician for over 100 years. He had written papers that changed how medicine was practiced across 12 star systems. Nothing surprised him anymore. Until now. Dr. Orn stopped in the doorway. He stared at the human in the bed. He stared for a very long time. Then he turned to Lyra with an expression she had never seen on his face before. "The patient is awake," Lyra said. Her voice came out higher than she intended. "I can see that." Dr. Orn walked slowly toward the bed. He moved like someone approaching a dangerous animal, careful and ready to run. How do you feel? The human looked up at him. His eyes were brown, warm and alive in a way that seemed impossible given what he had been through. Everything hurt, he said. The translator turned his words into Velthari, but the pain in his voice needed no translation. And I am hungry, very hungry. Hungry, Dr. Orn repeated. He said the word like it was from a language he did not speak. You were dead for 3 days and you are hungry. The human frowned. 3 days? I was out for 3 days? You were not out. Dr. Orn moved closer and began examining him with a scanner. You were dead. No heartbeat. No brain activity. Your core temperature dropped to -40 degrees. By every measure we have, you were a corpse. The human was quiet for a moment. Then he shrugged, and the simple movement made him wince in pain. Well, I feel better now. Dr. Orn made a sound that Lyra had never heard before. It took her a moment to realize it was a laugh. The old doctor was laughing. Better, he said. You feel better? Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. The next several hours were filled with tests. Dr. Orn ran every scan the medical station had. He took samples of blood and tissue and fluid. He measured brain waves and heart rhythms and cellular activity. Lyra assisted him, but mostly she just watched the human with a mixture of fear and fascination. His name was Kang Tae-woo. He was 32 years old. He was a cargo pilot from a planet called Earth, which Lyra had to look up in the database. It was a small world in a distant system, home to a species that had only achieved space travel in the last few centuries. Humans were considered minor players in galactic affairs. They had no advanced technology. They had no political power. They were barely worth noticing. And yet, here was one of them, sitting up in bed and complaining about the taste of the nutrient paste they gave him. The results are impossible, Dr. Orn said later, standing in his office with Lyra. His hands were shaking slightly as he looked at the data on his screen. His cells were completely destroyed by the vacuum exposure. Completely destroyed. But they are regenerating. Not slowly, not over weeks or months. They are regenerating now as we watch. How? Lyra asked. I do not know. Dr. Orn shook his head. I have never seen anything like this. His heart stopped for 6 minutes, but it restarted on its own. His brain was without oxygen for nearly 5 minutes, but there is no damage. His body should be a ruin, but it is rebuilding itself piece by piece. He turned to look at Lyra, and there was something in his silver eyes that she had never seen before. It took her a moment to recognize it. It was fear. What are these humans? He whispered. What kind of creatures are they? Lyra had no answer. She returned to the patient's room instead, bringing more water and a proper meal. The human, Tae-woo, looked up when she entered. He tried to smile, but his face was still too damaged to do it properly. Thank you, he said. You have been very kind. Lyra sat down in the chair beside his bed, the same chair where she had been crying over his dead body just hours ago. I thought you were gone. I was preparing you for burial. I am sorry to disappoint you. No. Lyra felt tears forming in her silver eyes again. No, I am not disappointed. I am glad. I just do not understand. Tae-woo was quiet for a moment. He looked down at his hands, which were wrapped in healing bandages. I do not understand either. I remember the cold. I remember the dark. I remember thinking about my family and knowing I would never see them again. And then I woke up here, with you crying beside me. You should not have woken up at all. I know. He met her eyes, and there was something strange in his expression. Not pride, not fear, just a simple acceptance of something beyond his control. Where I come from, we have a saying. Humans are too stubborn to die. I always thought it was just a joke. Maybe it is not. Lyra did not know what to say to that. She sat with him in silence for a long time, watching his chest rise and fall with each breath. Each impossible breath. Each breath that defied everything she knew about life and death and the rules that govern the universe. Outside the window, the stars burned cold and eternal. They had watched billions of lives begin and end. They did not care about rules or expectations or what should be possible, and neither, it seemed, did humans. The days passed slowly on the medical station. Tae-woo grew stronger with each one. His skin healed. His muscles rebuilt themselves. The pain faded from a scream to a whisper to a distant memory. Within a week, he could walk. Within 2 weeks, he could run. Dr. Orn called it miraculous. Tai Wu just called it Tuesday. Lyra became his constant companion. She brought him meals and helped him exercise. She taught him words in her language and laughed when he pronounced them wrong. She had never spent this much time with a patient before. She told herself it was medical observation. She was lying and she knew it. The truth was simple. She was fascinated by him, not just by his survival, though that was remarkable enough. She was fascinated by everything. The way he moved, quick and confident, even in a body that was still healing. The way he spoke, with jokes and warmth that she had never seen in any other species. The way he looked at the universe, not with fear or caution, but with a kind of stubborn curiosity. "Tell me about your world," she said one evening. They were sitting in the station's observation deck, watching the stars drift past the window. "Tell me about Earth." Taewoo smiled. It was a real smile now, not the broken attempt from his first days. "What do you want to know?" "Everything." So he told her. He told her about the blue oceans that covered most of his planet. He told her about mountains that touched the clouds and deserts that stretched for thousands of kilometers. He told her about cities packed with millions of people and villages with only a handful. He told her about the food his mother made and the songs his father sang. He told her about rain and snow and sunshine. Lyra listened with her silver eyes wide. The Velthari homeworld was a cold, quiet place. They lived in carefully controlled environments, protected from the dangers of nature. They had no storms, no seasons, no chaos. Everything was ordered and safe. Earth sounded like madness. It sounded like a world trying to kill its inhabitants every single day. And yet, when Tae-woo spoke about it, his voice was full of love. "You miss it," she said, "more than anything." He looked out at the stars. "I have a sister there, Yuna. She is probably planning my funeral right now. She will be so angry when she finds out I'm alive." "Angry? Why would she be angry?" Tae-woo laughed. "Because she told me not to take this job. She said the ship was too old, the company was too cheap, and I was too stupid to listen. She was right about all of it." Lyra did not understand siblings. Velthari families were formal and distant. Children left their parents early and rarely looked back. The idea of someone caring so much that they would be angry about your survival was strange to her. Strange, but beautiful. "I want to show you something," she said. "Something I found in the medical archives." She led him to a small data room where old records were stored. Most of it was routine information, patient files and research papers. But buried deep in the system, she had found something else. Something that most species had forgotten or ignored. "These are records about humans," she said, pulling up the files. "Old records from when your species was first discovered." Tae-woo leaned forward. The screen showed images and data from decades ago, when human ships first made contact with the galactic community. The reports were written in dry, clinical language, but the information they contained was extraordinary. "Subject survived radiation exposure of 400 rads," Lyra read aloud. "Lethal dose for Velthari is 50 rads. Subject recovered fully within 6 weeks." She scrolled to another entry. "Human soldier continued fighting for 3 hours after receiving wound that would incapacitate any known species. Wound included severe damage to abdominal organs." Another entry. "Human worker walked 22 kilometers through hostile terrain with broken spine. Subject survived and made partial recovery." Another. "Human child fell from height of 15 meters. Broken bones healed within standard recovery period. No permanent damage." Tae-woo read the entries in silence. His expression was strange, somewhere between pride and confusion. "I knew we were tough," he said finally, "but I did not know it was that unusual." "It is not unusual," Lyra said. "It is impossible. Your species should not exist. Your planet should not be able to produce life like you." She pulled up a comparison chart. It showed the survival rates of different species under various conditions: radiation, temperature extremes, physical trauma, starvation, disease. In every category, humans were far beyond anyone else. They were not just survivors. They were something else entirely. "The galaxy forgot about this," Lyra said. When humans were first discovered, there was interest. Scientists wanted to study you. Military leaders wanted to understand you. But your species had nothing to offer politically or technologically. You were classified as primitive and ignored. These records were buried. Nobody looked at them again. Until you. Until me. Lyra met his eyes. I wanted to understand how you survived. I found much more than I expected. Tae-woo was quiet for a long time. He scrolled through the records, reading entry after entry of human resilience, stories of survival that would be legends among any other species, treated as routine medical cases. Why did no one pay attention, he asked. Because it was easier not to. The galaxy likes order. It likes knowing where everything belongs. Humans did not fit the categories, so they were pushed aside. Forgotten, but you cannot be forgotten forever. She reached out and touched his hand. It was a bold gesture for a Velthari, who rarely made physical contact. But it felt right. Your species is remarkable, she said. Not because you have advanced technology or political power, but because you refuse to die. You face impossible odds and somehow, impossibly, you survive. The galaxy should have been watching you from the beginning. Instead, we looked away. Tae-woo turned his hand over and held hers gently. His skin was warm, almost hot compared to her cool, Velthari flesh. Another reminder that he was something different, something special. My grandmother used to tell me stories, he said. Stories about our ancestors. They survived ice ages and plagues and wars that killed millions. They crossed oceans in wooden boats and climbed mountains that should have been impossible. They never stopped. No matter how hard things got, they never stopped. He squeezed her hand. Maybe that is what it means to be human. Not that we do not fall. We fall all the time, but we always get back up. Every time, no matter what. Lyra felt something shift inside her. She had spent her whole life avoiding risk, avoiding danger, avoiding anything that might hurt her. That was the Velthari way, but sitting here holding hands with a man who had died and refused to accept it, she wondered if maybe there was another way to live. I want to understand, she said. I want to understand what it means to be like you. Tae-woo smiled at her, warm and genuine, and full of something that looked like hope. Stick around, he said. I will show you. Secrets do not last long in space. Information travels faster than light through the communication networks that connect the galaxy. Within days of Tae-woo's awakening, whispers began to spread. A human had survived vacuum exposure. A human had come back from the dead. A human had done the impossible. At first, nobody believed it. Humans were a minor species, primitive and unremarkable. The idea that one of them could do something that defied galactic medical science was laughable. But the whispers continued, they grew louder, and eventually they reached ears that took them very seriously. Commander Bell arrived at the medical station on a military transport. He was tall for a Velthari, with dark blue skin and eyes that seemed to see everything. He wore the uniform of the Galactic Medical Authority, the organization that controlled all medical research in this sector of space. His presence meant one thing. This was no longer a simple medical case. Tae-woo was in the rehabilitation room when the soldiers came. He was lifting weights, pushing his recovering body to work harder, grow stronger. Lyra stood nearby, monitoring his vital signs and trying not to stare at the way his muscles moved under his skin. She had never seen anyone work so hard at something. Velthari did not believe in pushing themselves. It was considered dangerous and foolish. The door opened and 6 armed soldiers walked in. They wore heavy armor and carried weapons that could burn through metal walls. Behind them came Commander Bale, his hands folded behind his back, his expression as cold as deep space. Kang Tae-woo, the commander said. It was not a question. Tae-woo set down his weights and stood up slowly. He did not look afraid. He did not look angry. He just looked tired, like someone who had seen this kind of thing before and was not impressed. That is me, he said. Can I help you? You can come with us. The Galactic Medical Authority has classified you as a medical anomaly of strategic interest. You will be transferred to a secure research facility for further study. Study! Tae-woo said the word like it left a bad taste in his mouth. You mean experiments. I mean whatever is necessary to understand how you survived. Your biology may hold secrets that could benefit countless species. Surely you understand the importance of that. I understand that you want to cut me open and see how I work. Taewoo shook his head. No, I am going home. I have a sister waiting for me. Commander Bell's expression did not change. I am afraid that is not an option. You will come with us, voluntarily or otherwise. The choice is yours, but the result will be the same. The soldiers raised their weapons slightly, not pointing at Taewoo, not yet, but ready. The message was clear. Lyra stepped forward. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She had never challenged authority in her life. She had never even raised her voice to a superior. But something was burning inside her now, something that felt like anger and fear and determination all mixed together. He is my patient, she said. Her voice came out stronger than she expected. Under Velthari medical law, a patient cannot be removed from care without the consent of their primary caregiver. I do not consent. Commander Bale looked at her like she was an insect that had crawled onto his boot. Nurse Lyra, your dedication is noted, but this matter is beyond your authority. Medical law is sacred. Even military authority cannot override a nurse's duty to her patient. That is the foundation of our entire system. If you violate it here, you violate it everywhere. The commander was silent for a long moment. Lyra could see the calculations happening behind his eyes. He was weighing the political cost of ignoring medical law against the value of securing his subject. It was a close thing. Too close. Very well, he said finally. We will remain on the station while the legal questions are resolved. But make no mistake, nurse. This delay is temporary. The human will be transferred eventually. The only question is how much trouble you want to cause yourself in the process. He turned and walked out, his soldiers following behind him. The door closed with a soft hiss, and suddenly the room was quiet again. Taewoo let out a long breath. Thank you. You did not have to do that. Yes, I did. Lyra was shaking now, the fear catching up with her. They would have taken you. They would have hurt you. Maybe. Taewoo walked over to her and put his hands on her shoulders. His touch was warm and steady. But you stopped them. That was brave. It was stupid. I just made a powerful enemy. The best things often look stupid at first. He smiled at her, that warm human smile that she was starting to love. My father used to say that. He was a fisherman. Every day he went out on the ocean in a tiny boat to catch fish. Everyone said it was dangerous and foolish, but he did it anyway, because it was the right thing to do. Lyra did not understand. What does fishing have to do with this? Everything. You do what is right, even when it is hard. Even when people tell you it is impossible. Even when you might fail. You do it because that is what makes life worth living. That night, Lyra could not sleep. She lay in her small room and stared at the ceiling, thinking about what had happened. Commander Bale would not give up. The legal delay she had created would only last so long. Eventually, they would find a way around it, and Taewoo would be taken. Unless she did something. She got up and went to his room. He was awake, sitting by the window and looking at the stars. He did not seem surprised to see her. I cannot stop them forever, she said. The commander will find a way. He always does. I know. Then we need to find another way. We need to get you out of here before he does. Taewoo turned to look at her. In the dim light, his brown eyes seemed almost golden. That would mean going against everything you believe in. Rules, order, safety. Are you sure you want to do that? Lyra thought about her life, the careful, controlled, safe life she had always lived. The life where she never took risks, never challenged anyone, never stood up for anything. It had kept her alive, but had it made her happy? Had it made her proud? I have been doing what I believe in all my life, she said. Maybe it is time to try something different. Taewoo stood up and crossed the room to stand in front of her. He was close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body, close enough that she could see the small scars on his face from his ordeal in space. Why? He asked. Why would you risk everything for me? We barely know each other. Lyra considered the question. She considered all the logical answers she could give, the scientific value of his survival, the injustice of what the authority wanted to do, the importance of standing up for what was right. But in the end, the answer was simpler than all of that. Because you looked death in the face and refused to accept it, she said. Because you survived something impossible, and then asked for a glass of water. Because when I was crying over your body, thinking you were gone forever, you opened your eyes and came back." She reached out and took his hand. "Because you are remarkable, Kang Tae-woo, and I am not going to let them take you apart to find out why." Tae-woo squeezed her hand. In his eyes, she saw something she had never seen before. Not gratitude, though that was there too. Something deeper, something that looked like the beginning of hope. "Then let us make a plan," he said, "together." And together they began to figure out how to do the impossible one more time. The communication terminal was in a restricted section of the station. Lyra had access because of her medical clearance, but using it for personal communications was strictly forbidden. She did not care anymore. Rules seemed less important now than they had a week ago. Tae-woo sat in front of the screen, his hands trembling slightly. He had not spoken to anyone from Earth since the accident. His family thought he was dead. His sister had probably already held his funeral. The thought made his chest tight with something that felt like grief and hope tangled together. "The signal will take about 4 hours to reach Earth," Lyra said. She stood by the door, watching for guards. "And another 4 hours for any response to come back. We will have to wait." "I have waited 3 weeks already. A few more hours will not kill me." He paused and smiled weakly. "Well, probably not." Lyra did not laugh at the joke. She was too nervous, too aware of the danger they were in. Commander Bale had soldiers watching every exit from the medical station. He was just waiting for an excuse to take Tae-woo by force. Using restricted communications equipment might give him exactly that excuse. Tae-woo recorded his message. He spoke in Korean, his native language, which the station's translators struggled to process. It did not matter. The message was not for aliens. "Yuna," he said, "it is me, Tae-woo. I know you probably think I am dead. I know you are probably angry at me for making you worry. You were right about the ship. You were right about everything. You always are." He paused, gathering his thoughts. There was so much he wanted to say. Too much for one message. "Something happened to me. Something I do not fully understand. I was exposed to space. I should have died. But I did not. I woke up on an alien medical station, and now I am trying to find a way home. It is complicated. There are people who want to keep me here. But I am fighting. I am always fighting. You know me." His voice cracked slightly. "I miss you. I miss home. I miss Mom's cooking, and Dad's terrible jokes, and the smell of rain in Incheon. I am going to come back, I promise. Just wait for me. Please, wait for me." He ended the recording and sat back. His eyes were wet, but he did not wipe them. Lyra had learned that humans were not ashamed of their tears. They showed emotion openly, without hiding or controlling it. It was one of the many things about them that she found both strange and beautiful. The hours passed slowly. Lyra brought food. They talked about small things, favorite foods, childhood memories, the kinds of conversations that people have when they are trying to forget about the danger surrounding them. Tae-woo told her about the ocean, about the way the waves sounded against the shore. Lyra told him about the ice caves on her homeworld, where the Velthari used to gather before they built their cities. Finally, the terminal chimed. A response had arrived. Tae-woo's hands shook as he pressed the button to play it. And then, filling the small room, came a voice that made his heart stop and restart all over again. "You idiot!" Park Yuna was crying and laughing at the same time. Her face filled the screen, wet with tears, her expression torn between joy and fury. She was 30 years old with short hair and sharp eyes that looked exactly like their mother's. Behind her, Tae-woo could see the familiar walls of their apartment. The kitchen where they had grown up, the window that looked out over the city. "I planned your funeral. I bought flowers. I was going to scatter your ashes at the beach because you always loved the ocean. And now you send me a message like nothing happened? Like you just went on vacation and forgot to call? I am going to kill you myself when you get back." She wiped her eyes, but the tears kept coming. "You stupid, wonderful, impossible brother. You died. They told me you died. The shipping company sent a notice and everything. And now you are alive? How are you alive? What is wrong with you?" Her voice softened. The anger faded, replaced by something deeper, something raw. "Come home, Tae-woo. Whatever you have to do, whatever it takes, come home. Mom's birthday is next month. You promised you would be there. You promised. She leaned closer to the camera. I do not care about alien stations or complicated situations. I do not care about any of it. You are my brother. You are the only family I have left. So you fight. You fight as hard as you have to. And you come home. The message ended. The screen went dark. And Tae-woo sat in silence, tears streaming down his face, his hands gripping the edge of the table so hard his knuckles were white. Lyra watched him. She had never seen love like this before. Velthari families did not speak to each other this way. They did not cry for each other. They did not rage and laugh and demand the impossible all in the same breath. She sounds amazing, Lyra said quietly. Tae-woo laughed. It was a broken sound, full of pain and joy mixed together. She is terrifying. She once chased a thief for 6 blocks in her pajamas because he stole her bicycle. She caught him too. I believe it. He turned to look at her. His eyes were red, but there was something new in them now, something hard and determined. The tears had not made him weak. They had made him stronger. I have to get back to her, he said, whatever it takes. I have to get back. Lyra nodded. She had made her decision days ago, but hearing Yuna's voice had made it feel more real, more important. This was not just about science or justice or doing the right thing. This was about family. This was about love that crossed galaxies and refused to be broken by distance or death. Then we do it tomorrow, she said. I have been working on a plan. There is a shuttle in the lower bay. It is old, but it works. I can get us access. We can be gone before Commander Bale knows what happened. We? Tae-woo looked at her with surprise. You are coming with me? I cannot stay here after this. They will know I helped you. My career will be over. My life here will be over. She tried to smile. Besides, someone needs to make sure you do not die again on the way home. Tae-woo stood up and crossed the room to her. He moved slowly, giving her time to step back if she wanted to. She did not. Thank you, he said. I know what you are giving up for this. I will never forget it. Maybe you can introduce me to your sister. She sounds like someone I would like. She would love you? She always wanted me to bring home interesting friends. He paused. Though she might be a little surprised that you are blue. Lyra laughed. It was a strange sound coming from her, almost human. I will take that as a compliment. They stood together in the dim light of the communication room. 2 people from different worlds, different species, different lives. Everything about their situation was impossible. Everything about their plan was dangerous. Everything about their future was uncertain. But none of that mattered, because somewhere across the galaxy, a woman was waiting for her brother to come home, and Lyra had decided that she would do whatever it took to make that happen. Tomorrow they would run. Tomorrow they would fight. Tomorrow they would try to do the impossible. But tonight they just stood together and watched the stars. And for a few quiet hours, that was enough. The alarm woke Lyra before dawn. She had been dreaming about ice caves and warm brown eyes when the sound cut through everything like a knife. She was on her feet and moving before she was fully awake. Years of medical training taking over her body. Something had gone wrong. Something had gone very wrong. She found Tae-woo in his room, already dressed and ready. His face was grim. They know, he said. Someone found the communication logs. We have maybe 10 minutes before they come for us. 10 minutes. It was not enough time. Their plan had been careful, slow, designed to avoid notice. They were supposed to leave quietly, slip away while Commander Bale was distracted. But now everything was falling apart. We go now, Lyra said. The shuttle bay. We run. They ran. The station was a maze of corridors and lifts and sealed doors. Lyra knew it well, having worked there for years, but the knowledge felt distant now. Everything looked different when you were being hunted. Every shadow seemed to hide a soldier. Every sound seemed like a warning. They made it to the first checkpoint without being seen. Lyra used her medical clearance to open the door, and they slipped through into the maintenance tunnels. These were older parts of the station, rarely used, full of dust and shadows. It was the perfect path to the shuttle bay. Or it would have been if the soldiers had not been waiting. The first plasma bolt hit the wall beside Tae-woo's head. He ducked on instinct, grabbing Lyra and pulling her down with him. More bolts followed, burning bright lines through the air. "This way!" Lyra shouted. She pulled him down a side passage, then another, then another. She was moving on memory now, thinking faster than she had ever thought before. Left at the junction, right at the broken panel. Straight through the storage room. Behind them, she could hear the soldiers following. They were slower than her, weighed down by their armor, but they were organized. They were calling out positions, coordinating their movements. It was only a matter of time before they caught up. The shuttle bay was just ahead. Lyra could see the door. She could see freedom waiting on the other side. But between them and the door was an open corridor, 20 meters long with no cover. Anyone standing in that corridor would be an easy target. "I will go first," Taewoo said. "They want me alive. They will not shoot to kill. That does not mean they will not shoot at all." "I know." He looked at her, and there was something in his eyes that made her heart ache. "Stay behind me. Run fast. Do not stop no matter what." Before she could argue, he was moving. He ran into the corridor like he had done this 1,000 times before. Maybe he had. Humans seem to live their lives always running toward danger instead of away from it. The plasma bolt hit him in the shoulder. Lyra screamed. She watched him stumble, watched the smoke rise from the wound, watched him fall to one knee. For a terrible moment, she thought he was finished. She thought everything was over. Then he got back up. His face was twisted with pain, but he kept moving. He reached the door and slammed his good hand against the panel. It opened. He turned back to her and shouted one word, "Run!" She ran. She ran faster than she had ever run in her life. The corridor seemed to stretch forever in front of her. She could hear more plasma bolts firing behind her, could feel the heat of them passing close. But she did not stop. She did not look back. She just ran. She made it through the door and Taewoo sealed it behind her. The lock clicked into place, buying them precious seconds. His wound was bad. She could see that now. The plasma had burned through his shoulder, leaving a smoking hole that would have put any Velthari into shock. But Taewoo was not in shock. He was already moving toward the shuttle. "Can you fly it?" he asked. "Yes." She had trained on these shuttles years ago, when she first joined the station. She had never thought she would need to steal one. "But your wound, you need treatment." "Later. Get us out of here first." The shuttle was old but functional. Lyra powered it up while Taewoo collapsed into the seat beside her. His face was pale now, sweat beading on his forehead. The pain must have been incredible, but he did not complain. He did not even make a sound. The shuttle bay doors were locked. Of course they were. Commander Bale had thought of everything. "Override codes," Lyra said. She pulled up the terminal and started typing. Her medical clearance would not work here. She needed something higher, something that only senior staff had access to. A new message appeared on her screen. It was from Dr. Orn. The message contained only one thing, an authorization code. High-level clearance. Enough to open any door on the station. Lyra stared at it for a moment, not understanding. Then she entered the code, and the bay doors began to open. As the shuttle lifted off the deck, she saw Commander Bell appear in the doorway. He was shouting something, but she could not hear him over the engines. His soldiers raised their weapons, but it was too late. They were already moving, already flying, already free. The shuttle shot through the open doors and into space. Behind them, the medical station grew smaller and smaller. Lyra pushed the engines as hard as they would go, putting distance between them and their pursuers. "We made it," she whispered. She could barely believe it. Taewoo laughed. It was a weak sound, mixed with pain, but it was real. "I told you, humans are too stubborn to die, and apparently too stubborn to stay captured." Lyra turned to look at him. "That wound is serious. I need to treat it now." "I have had worse." "I doubt that. My sister hits harder when she is angry. This is nothing." Despite everything, Lyra laughed. It was absurd. They were fleeing for their lives, wounded and hunted, and this impossible man was making jokes about his sister. She found the medical kit and began treating his shoulder. The wound was bad but clean. The plasma had cauterized most of the damage, which was good. She applied healing gel and bandages, working quickly and efficiently. Taewoo watched her with those warm brown eyes, not flinching, even when she pressed on the burned tissue. "Dr. Orn helped us. she said as she worked. He sent the override code. I know, I saw. Taewoo was quiet for a moment. He is a good man. Underneath all that scientific coldness, he is a good man. He will be in trouble now. The commander will know he helped us. Then we owe him. We owe him everything. Lyra finished the bandages and sat back. The shuttle was on autopilot now, flying toward the edge of the system. They would need to find a jump point, somewhere they could enter hyperspace and disappear before the military caught up with them. Where do we go now, she asked. Taewoo smiled. Despite the pain, despite the danger, despite everything, he smiled. Home, he said. We go home. And in the darkness of space with stars burning all around them, the little shuttle flew on. Two people from two different worlds running toward the same future, toward Earth, toward family, toward whatever came next. They had done the impossible once more, and they would do it again if they had to, because that was what humans did. And Lyra was starting to think that maybe, just maybe, she could learn to do it too. 3 months had passed since the escape from the medical station. 3 months of hiding, running, and fighting through sectors of space that Lyra had only read about in reports. 3 months of close calls and narrow escapes, and moments where everything seemed lost. But they had made it. They had finally made it. The rain was falling when Taewoo stepped off the transport shuttle and onto Earth's soil for the first time in almost half a year. It was not the cold, sterile rain that Velthari Environmental Systems produced. This rain was warm and wild and smelled like life. It soaked through his clothes in seconds, and he did not care. He stood there with his face turned up to the sky, letting it wash over him. He was home. Incheon looked exactly as he remembered it. The same crowded streets, the same old buildings mixed with new ones, the same sounds of traffic and voices and music drifting from shop windows. Everything was exactly the same, and yet everything felt different. He felt different. Lyra stood beside him, her blue skin drawing stares from the humans walking past. She had wrapped herself in a hooded coat to hide her appearance, but the disguise was not perfect. People whispered and pointed. She tried to ignore them, but Taewoo could see the tension in her shoulders. They are just curious, he said. They have not seen many aliens before. I know. It is just strange to be the unusual one. She managed a small smile. On the station, you were the strange creature. Here I am. Welcome to Earth. The food is good. The weather is terrible, and everyone stares at everyone else. You will fit right in. They took a taxi to Yuna's apartment. The driver kept glancing in the mirror at Lyra, but he did not say anything. Taewoo paid him extra and gave him a story about a costume party. The driver did not believe it, but he also did not ask questions. That was the nice thing about taxi drivers. The apartment building was old, 7 stories of concrete and glass that had been standing since before Taewoo was born. He had grown up here. He had learned to walk in these hallways, had scraped his knees on these stairs, had dreamed about the stars while looking out of these windows. Now he was back, and the stars had nearly killed him. He stood outside his sister's door for a long time. His hand was raised to knock, but he could not make himself do it. What would he say? How could he explain everything that had happened? How could words possibly be enough? Lyra put her hand on his shoulder. Her touch was cool and gentle, a reminder that he was not alone. She loves you, she said. Nothing else matters. Taewoo knocked. The door opened, and there she was. Park Yuna, his sister. The person who had always been there, through every stupid decision and every terrible mistake and every impossible dream. She was shorter than he remembered, or maybe he had just grown taller. Her hair was longer. Her eyes were the same. For a moment, neither of them moved. They just looked at each other across the threshold. Two people separated by distance and time and things that should have been impossible. Then Yuna punched him in the shoulder. Ow! Taewoo stumbled back, rubbing the spot where she had hit him. What was that for? For dying. She punched him again, in the same spot. For coming back to life. Another punch. For taking 3 months to get home. Another. For making me worry. Okay. I am sorry. Taewoo held up his hands in surrender. Please stop hitting me. I just survived space. Do not let my sister be the thing that finally kills me. Yuna's face crumpled. The anger drained away, replaced by something raw and broken. She threw herself at him, wrapping her arms around his chest and holding on like she would never let go. "You idiot," she whispered into his shoulder. "You stupid, impossible idiot." Tae-woo held her. He held her and felt her shake with sobs, felt her tears soak through his shirt, felt her heart beating against his chest. This was what he had fought for. This was why he had refused to die. Not for glory or science or the future of humanity. For this. For her. "I am here," he said. "I am home. I am not going anywhere." They stood like that for a long time. Lyra waited quietly nearby, watching the reunion with silver eyes that glistened with unfamiliar tears. Velthari did not cry. They had evolved past such primitive emotional responses. But standing here, watching these two humans hold each other like the universe depended on it, she found that her eyes were wet anyway. Maybe humans were contagious. Maybe their stubborn refusal to follow rules extended to biology as well as physics. Eventually, Yuna pulled back and noticed Lyra for the first time. Her eyes went wide. "Tae-woo, there is an alien in my hallway." "Yes, this is Lyra. She saved my life, multiple times." Yuna looked at Lyra. Lyra looked at Yuna. The two women studied each other with identical expressions of curiosity and caution. "Thank you," Yuna said finally, "for bringing him home. He did most of the work himself. I just helped with the parts that required medical knowledge and the ability to use a computer." Yuna laughed. It was a bright, sudden sound that surprised all of them. "I like her. Come inside. Both of you. I will make food. You can tell me everything." The apartment was small but warm. Lyra sat on a worn sofa while Yuna moved around the kitchen, cooking dishes that Tae-woo had dreamed about for months. The smell of garlic and ginger filled the air. Outside, the rain continued to fall. Over the next several hours, Tae-woo told his sister everything. The accident, the impossible survival, the medical station, Commander Bile and the escape. He left nothing out. When he was finished, Yuna sat in silence for a long moment. "So you are basically a medical miracle," she said, "and the entire galaxy is going to want to study you." "Probably, but I have something that might help." He pulled out the data chip that Dr. Orn had given him. "This contains all the research on human resilience, information that the galaxy has been ignoring for decades. If we share it with the right people, maybe we can control our own story." Yuna took the chip and looked at it. Such a small thing to contain such important information. "I know some people at the space agency. They might be interested in this." "I was hoping you would say that." The next few weeks were busy. The data chip was delivered to Earth's space agency, and the information it contained spread quickly through scientific and military circles. It was carefully managed, shared in ways that helped humanity rather than putting them at risk. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. That was about to change. But Tae-woo was not part of those conversations. He had done his part. Now he just wanted to be normal again. He wanted to walk on beaches and eat his mother's recipes and argue with his sister about nothing important. He wanted to live. One evening, he found Lyra on the roof of the apartment building. She was sitting on the edge, her legs dangling over the side, watching the sun set over the city. The light made her blue skin glow like something from a dream. "My ship leaves tomorrow," she said. "There is a position on a human exploration vessel. They need a medical officer who understands alien physiology." Tae-woo sat down beside her. "I know, I recommended you." "You did?" She looked at him with surprise. "Why?" "Because you are the best nurse I have ever met. Because you saved my life. Because you gave up everything to help a stranger, and you did not ask for anything in return." He paused. "And because I think you are ready to see what is out there, not from behind a desk on a station, but up close, in person." Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then she reached out and took his hand. Her cool fingers intertwined with his warm ones. "I will miss you," she said. "I will miss you too. But this is not goodbye. The galaxy is not that big. We will see each other again." "Promise?" Tae-woo smiled. That warm, impossible human smile that she had learned to love. "I survived the void of space. I survived Commander Bile. I survived my sister's punches. A little distance is not going to keep us apart. Lyra laughed. It was a human sound now, full and free and completely natural. Then I will see you soon, she said. Soon. The sun set over Incheon. The stars came out one by one, filling the sky with light. Somewhere up there, ships were flying. People were exploring. The future was being written. And down here on a rooftop in a city full of stubborn, impossible humans, two people from different worlds held hands and watched the universe turn. It was not an ending. It was just the beginning of something new, something unexpected, something that nobody could have predicted, but everyone had been waiting for. Because that was the thing about humans. They did not just survive, they thrived. They grew. They reached for the stars and refused to stop reaching until they touched them. And now, with allies like Lyra by their side, they were going to reach farther than ever before. The galaxy was not ready for them, but it would be, soon.